Shinji Kosasa, who later changed his Japanese given name to Sidney, was born on December 20, 1919, on the second floor above his parents' grocery store on 10th Avenue in Kaimiki. He was the younger of two sons born to Morita and Mitsue Kosasa, immigrants from Okayama, Japan. Morita came to Hawaii to work in the plantations, returned to Japan to get married, and brought wife Mitsue back with him. Upon returning to Hawaii, he worked at Liberty House as an elevator operator. In 1917, Morita and Mitsue opened M. Kosasa Shoten, later known as M. Kosasa Grocery and Butcher on 10th Avenue. They wisely invested in real estate, turning some of their properties into rental cottages. Mrs. Kosasa taught at a Japanese language school and was active in the community. It was very unusual for an immigrant Japanese woman in her day to have been so well educated. It was Mitsue Kosasa who encouraged young Sidney to become a pharmacist because drugstores made more money than grocery stores. Till the very end, Sidney Kosasa looked up to his mother as an astute businesswoman and mentor. Sidney's older brother Neil was born in 1918. The Kosasas were strong Christians who were members of the Nu'uanu Congregational Church. Kosasa attended Liliuokalani Elementary School, Palolo Elementary School, and Liliuokalani Intermediate, as well as Japanese language school after regular school hours. At age 13, his father brought him to Japan for the first time to visit relatives. The family name was actually Ozasa, but changed in the 1920s to Kosasa, to make it easier for non-Japanese people to remember. After graduating from McKinley High School in 1938, Kosasa left for California to attend Sacramento Junior College. Older brother Neil was already attending the University of California at Berkeley. While in Sacramento, he boarded at the home of a Japanese family, the Ryugos. There he met his future wife Minnie, the youngest daughter who was in high school at the time. Kosasa entered UC Berkeley to study at the pharmacy school. It was in 1942 that Kosasa earned his degree in pharmacy, the same year that Executive Order 9066 was issued to place all West Coast residents of Japanese ancestry in internment camps. Through the consideration of the dean of the pharmacy school, the 8 Japanese Americans in the class, including Kosasa, were allowed to take final exams in April before the school year ended. Their diplomas were mailed to the internment camp later. The Sacramento Japanese residents were sent to Tule Lake Internment Camp, which was located in Northern California near the Oregon border. The Ryugos were also interned at Tule Lake, and Kosasa and Minnie were married in the camp in 1943. Upon his release from the internment camp in 1943, Kosasa began his career as a pharmacist at Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. His starting pay was $125 per month, and net pay about $100. The Kosasas returned to Hawaii a year later, and Sidney worked at a branch of Benson Smith & Company, a local drugstore chain, where he eventually became the store's manager. In 1949, Kosasa formed a family corporation and opened Kaimiki Pharmacy on Waialae Avenue, and by 1959, Kosasa, along with wife Minnie, was operating a total of 8 drugstores on Oahu, including Kaimiki Pharmacy, thrifty drugstores, and 3 concessions in the gem department stores. We asked son Paul, now president of ABC Stores, what his parents had envisioned back in 1949.
No, I don't think they actually had any kind of grand strategy in the business. I think it was the passion that they had in running a business, and then the entrepreneurial spirit of both my father and my mother.
With the attainment of statehood for Hawaii in 1959 came the tourism boom in Waikiki. Upon his return from attending a chain drugstore meeting in Miami, Kosasa opened the first ABC store on Kalakaua Avenue and Beach Walk. This was the beginning of the ABC stores we know so well today throughout Waikiki. The store carried over-the-counter drugs, sundries, gifts, and snack items.
when they went to Miami back in the early 60s, and they saw how Miami was a strong visitor destination. So they transported that back to Hawaii and decided, well, if one day Waikiki is going to be a thriving and bustling tourist destination, we should open stores here in Waikiki.
And I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but the origin of the naming of the ABC stores?
My parents thought to keep it simple as possible, because Hawaii enjoys visitors from all over the world. And what simpler name than the beginning of the alphabet, ABC stores.
By 1975, the Kosasa's enterprises included 7 ABC stores, 3 thrifty drugstores, and a pharmacy in the Medical Arts Building on South King Street. By 1985, there were 27 ABC stores, including 2 on Maui.
One thing that my father was good at was that he understood what worked and what doesn't work. The pharmacy was the beginning foundation of his business, and as time went on and the profitability of pharmacy business was going down, he was progressive enough to say, I'm going to move into a different direction.
Which leads me to the next question about the Japanese market. When did it start, and how did ABC appeal to this market?
I think that the Japanese market entered Hawaii in probably the late 80s, early 90s. And the appeal of ABC stores to the Japanese is, I think we were very similar to convenience stores in Japan at that time. So we're kind of like the first convenience store. And the Japanese really latched onto that.
Why are there so many ABC stores in Waikiki, like one on every block?
Well, the Waikiki is an unusual place. You know, it's very high density, many hotels, and our core business really is convenience. So we want to be as convenient as possible for our visitors.
By 2001, Kosasa's chain had grown to 60 stores, 35 in Waikiki alone, with stores on Maui, Guam, Saipan, and Las Vegas.
You have a lot of employees, and full-time versus part-time. Why so many full-timers, which is unusual today?
Yeah, in our industry, full-time, having 80% full-time employees is unusual. But part of our culture is to take care of our employees because they take care of our customers. Our culture is rooted in making sure that people are treated with respect and dignity no matter what level they are. And my father, Sidney, always drilled that into us.
Besides being an entrepreneur and businessman, Sidney Kosasa was very active in the local community. He was past president and lifetime member of the Retail Merchants of Hawaii and a board member of Central Pacific Bank. He was also president of the Kuakini Health System and served on the boards of Island Insurance Company, the Hawaii Visitors Bureau, and the Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii. In addition, he was also an active member of the Japanese Chamber of Commerce, serving as its president from 1972 to 1975.
One thing that my parents did was they raised very successful children. It takes a lot for them to be working in a family business 12 to 17 hours a day sometimes and raising a family. So my hat's off to them because I don't know if I could repeat that feat.
Minnie and Sidney Kosasa were blessed with 4 children, all successful today in their own right. Thomas Kosasa is a physician. Susan Kosasa is office manager for Thomas's medical practice. Gloria Gainsley is a pharmacist at Kapiolani Hospital. Youngest son Paul, at age 49, is now president and chief executive officer of the family business. credit must be given to Minnie Kosasa in the founding and growth of the family enterprises. She worked side by side with her husband from day one, often taking walks around Waikiki to select locations for more ABC stores.
Did your dad give you any advice before passing on the reins of ABC to you?
He always gave me advice, even if I didn't want it. Periodically, we'd play golf together, and every time I hit a bad shot, he would tell me, play one shot at a time. You can recover by hitting a second good shot, and then maybe make par. And I think it relates to the business to a certain extent, and that's how he thought that, not all decisions are going to be perfect decisions. My father always taught us to be prudent in our spending, invest our earnings, and carry good reserves so that we can weather the down times. And I think part of our strength is the fact that even in bad times, we can still continue to provide benefits for our employees.
Sidney Kosasa passed away in November 2006 at the age of 86. From his parents' humble beginnings in Palolo, Shinji, the entrepreneur, moved on to create the giant chain of stores in Waikiki we are so familiar with. There were hurdles along the way, such as the wartime internment, but dreams were fulfilled with his never-ending quest for bigger and better. With the support of Minnie Kosasa and his 4 children, the ABC chain has grown today to a total of 73 stores. The Honolulu Japanese Chamber of Commerce is proud to honor the Kosasa family with this year's Generational Award.
My father told me that if when I was your age, I would have had 100 stores by now. That was when we only had 50 stores.